team, and fitting, one former Collingwood champion, another former Carlton champion, Peter McKenna and Ian Robertson. Gentlemen, welcome, and if ever a game was like a final, this is it.
Fair go on this elder statesman business, Sandy. Give us a break. What about that one, Pete?
Well, typical of him, isn't it? But I'm looking forward to this game, Ian. I'm sure you are. Terrific tradition amongst these two teams. And I know, Robbo, you're going to bring up the 1970 grand final. I'll give you a chance now to mention that game.
There wasn't a certain amount of pleasure, was there, in that, Peter? But actually, I went to Collingwood on Tuesday night for a function, and they played the second semi-final as a replay. And it is quite amazing that Collingwood ever lost the grand final when you watch the second semi-final. But
well, we beat you 3 times that year, 1970. But we're pretty evenly matched teams, really, weren't they?
Now you'll have a chance to get at each other throughout the night. But let's have a look at the two teams.
Well, the Collingwood side, have a look at that for a side. They're in pretty good form, and Gary Pert from Fitzroy's made a huge difference to that back line playing at fullback. Michael Christian, well, the big job on Kernahan tonight, but they've got a terrific bunch of runners. Ken Carlton controlled Dacos, and also they've got Scotty Russell, Tony Francis and Mickey McGuan. They're a very good running side, Collingwood. Very important that Moncourse plays a very good game in the first ruck.
And from a Carlton point of view, I think the key is their forward line, whether the forward line can kick enough goals. It's led very capably by Stephen Kernahan, who has been an absolutely sensational player since coming across from South Australia. An important player in their lineup is Craig Bradley. Whether he can break clear and give them the power to get the ball up to the forward line, and of course Stephen Silvani, let's hope he's as fit as he possibly can be.
And as we speak, Robbo, the Collingwood boys coming out on the ground, their coach Lee Matthews, who had success in 1990 on this very ground when the Magpies broke the drought and defeated Essendon in the grand final. And what a test they have tonight. They'll be so keen to do well. They lost that first game in 1892, Robbo. Your boys were successful by 8 points. I'm not suggesting you played in it, but they did win.
Yes, well, I think a lot of the hype leading up to this game is about the fact, Peter, that I'm sure Collingwood want to beat Carlton because the win-loss ratio between the two sides is very, very tight. And Carlton always, when the period that I played there, it was always impressed upon us that they were the only side, Collingwood, that hadn't beaten Carlton by as many times as opposition teams. We just have another look at the Carlton lineup, and I mentioned about Stephen Kernahan and Silvani. But they've got...
Is Silvani fit? That's the big question.
That's a good one. They've got a player like McGuan. You mentioned McGuan across that back line. Millum Hanna is an important player for Carlton also. And one wonders whether that full back line has Carlton come onto the ground.
Well, I think the crowd, Robbo, definitely predominantly Collingwood by the roars. And they've got an amazing array of supporters. A real army as we hear the Navy Blues song. It's a great song, the Carlton song. But, look, I'm looking forward to this. I reckon the scene is set for one of the great clashes, and those players will think it's like a grand final tonight.
I'll tell you what, there was no hesitation. When Collingwood wanted to play this game, who were going to be their opponents, Sandy?
Carlton.
The Navy Blues. You know why?
That's because they want to knock
they've
them
got
off.
the best, the most unbelievable excitement when these two sides play each other. Wouldn't have mattered, Peter, whether it was at Victoria Park. They could have played up in Wonthaggi, Sandy.
Exactly right.
They would have got a big crowd.
And to quote George Harris, each side would like to beat the other side by a point rather than 10 goals. Robbo?
Right. Gentlemen, you're pumped and it's great to see. Don Scott is going to be joining us tonight. Gerard Healy's going to be on the boundary line. And, of course, there'll be Ted Whitten, Lou Richards and Mike Williamson. It's going to be a big night. All the action is coming your way right after this break.